Questions? I'll just leave this here.
Thank you, Susan. The Building Committee, John Cunningham and Art Howard.
Oh, thank you. I just want to, express my appreciation to Carla for keeping everybody up to date on the main things that are happening around the buildings today in Fox Hill.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay? I'm almost gobbling it up.
Can you turn his up,
I guess everyone, is that better? I'm getting an echo when I talk now. Maybe I've got to move it away. Everyone suffered from the bad air this past week, and I understand from Carla in her letter that Dynkin is on site this week and next week. They'll be changing the air filters that have been clogged up with all this bad air, and the bad air has forced the walking committee to go to malls instead of the normal outside venues that they go to work. We've had four big projects for the buildings. Two of them, the roof and the carpet for the residential area has been completed. But the other two projects, one is for the garages and the garage doors replacement, and the other is for the elevators, which Brent has mentioned already. And as far as the garages go, we're expecting a third bid. I don't know that it's been received yet, but we did have a third company come in and meet with the security people. They were to meet with Frank, but they didn't come in until late in the evening, and they met with the security people, and I still haven't heard if they're going to get a bid. But in any event, the good thing is two bids that we have already are below budget, and hopefully this bid, when it comes in, will be our third bid, and we can make a selection and get on with it. As far as the elevators goes, as Brent mentioned, there will be a meeting at 11 a.m. in the morning with the Coney design team to decide what to do with the elevators as far as the design of the cabs go. We did have from Mr. Cohen a budget figure that was given to us of $60,000 per elevator, and the elevators at Jefferson cost much less, and we're going to have to take a hard look at it, but the odds are that we won't know until really August, because Schindler, when they were here, did not perform the preventive maintenance on the elevators that they should have, and there may be some additional work that needs to be done other than just decorating to come up with the final figure on the elevators. That being said, I think we won't know really until August with Coney what their final cost will be when the report that we get in August comes from Coney. And that's all the building committee had this time.
June.
Brent, should we be changing the filters in our condos ourselves a bit earlier or now after this discussion?
I think that's a great question to ask Frank, June. The question was, should we be changing the filters in the individual condos since the Canadian smoke came down? So the first part of it is we're going to be changing the rooftop units and the HVA system, as I mentioned in my letter on Friday. And then I think we can take a look at the filters on the inside, but I really would rather defer that question to Frank and get an answer out to everyone. And I can give everyone an update in my letter on Friday.
Yeah, because all the same air goes through all the apartments, so we're all impacted the same amount. And just like to know whether we need new ones.
Another question, Sidell?
This is another question about the filters. It was mentioned that the filters are going to be changed this week because of the Canadian fires. How frequently do the filters have to be examined should those Canadian fires continue on and off or continually? How often do the filters have to be examined and then changed, and what will the cost be?
Art, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
I have an answer, but I want to hear yours.
Well, I better be good, right? The smoke event obviously is a one-off thus far. We don't know what's going to be happening in the future. In other words, you could have smoke events every week, every other week. Who knows how long the Canadian fires will burn, and who knows what the prevailing winds will be. But as we sit here right now, my best hunch would be, I hope this matches Carla's, but my hunch is that the filters probably, we should look at some of the filters to see what they look like. And if they look bad, then that would be a fairly good sample. Then we would go ahead, I would think, and want to change the filters in our condo units. There was another set of filters that was what this project was all about, is the filters in the rooftop units that are providing the heating and cooling for the corridors, the residential corridors. That was the original thought about changing the filters that was in Carla's letter.
And in the common areas as well.
Right.
Yeah, and amenities.
The problem, not a problem, but the way Fox Hill was designed is the air from the corridor units that are up on the roof, that air, some of that air comes into your condo units because that's the way it's been designed. I think we all know that. So anyway, I guess the answer is yet to be determined, but Carla and Frank will be on it.
So it is already being done currently, Sidel, twice a year, spring, summer, fall, winter. And that's when the maintenance folks come into your condos and change out the filters and do those inspections, which I think we did pretty recently. I think they completed them in April and May. So the filters that you have currently in your condos are pretty fresh, but to Art's point, maybe they have seen a little more action because of the fires, and we have to just kind of do some random sampling around the building. As luck would have it, Dakin was going to be here to replace the filters anyway, and they had started that PM process even before the Canadian fires. And so I think it's just being good and being prudent to just change them all now. That too is on about a twice a year basis.
Any other questions about it? Art, you have a further report for us?
Not really, except just maybe a comment, and that is that there might be a little bit of confusion about what all this elevator stuff is about. There are really two parts of the elevator question. The electrical and mechanical portion of the elevator is what makes them go up and down and all that stuff, okay? We won't get into all that right now because everybody would go to sleep. But the other question that's currently on the table is the interiors of the elevators that are being refurbished, were proposed to be refurbished. And that is the question that we're dealing with right now. And that is the question. Carla has additional information. I think she's going to mention today about some of those prices. But after we get that information and are satisfied with the bids that we've got, they will be approved by the building committee, and then they will be sent on to the finance committee, and then they will be sent on to the board for action. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the elevator thing really are two separate things, the interiors and the exterior, which is all the mechanical stuff.
Any more questions?
The only additional information that I have is I did, at the request of the buildings committee, I did go to the Jefferson. It was delayed by a week for unforeseen circumstances. And it was requested that I visualize them myself and take pictures. So I did complete that. As it was also reported out in the buildings meeting last time, the information that we received from the Jefferson was that the elevators cost them about $32,000 to $35,000. And that was completed by the preferred vendor for Sunrise. So other than that, that's kind of the information that we have at this time on the elevators that I have to share.
Any questions from anyone?
I have a question. Why are we getting charged more? Does anybody know?
I don't know that we're being charged more. We were given for budget purposes a price of 60K. And I don't understand where that 60K came from either. But I'm sure whatever we wind up with will be less. It's just a question of whether they're combining the design with what makes it work and everything else to arrive at that figure. It may be more than just the 35, and I'm not sure. Are the elevators at Jefferson's, were they Schindler elevators or Coney?
They are Schindler elevators.
See, and they're a different type of elevator than the kind we have. So I don't know that we can compare the prices directly.
But the interior of the cabs are pretty much the same. They're four walls and a floor, but still. New news, right?
That's the design, but that's not necessarily the working mechanism of it.
The price of the price that Carla got the other day on the Jefferson elevators is a little dated. It goes back a year or two. And given cost increases for materials and labor, we have to kind of add to that, obviously.
I think definitely our flooring will be more of a luxury vinyl flooring than what they have in theirs.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not clear.
Flooring, excuse me, you just mentioned the word,
I guess, is this working?
you just mentioned the word flooring. Is there a difference in, I'm going to use the wrong word, slipperiness between flat flooring and rug flooring? Or is that, it just entered my mind when you said flooring.
I'll try to enter your mind as well and give you an answer. The flooring that we would seek to have in the other elevators so that things match is already down in the elevators that are behind the grill. And then the first one that's kind of on the Abbott side, that elevator already has had that flooring for several months, and we have not found any problems with it.
Good, thank you.
My question. I'm unclear about where the elevator interiors are in the decision process. Is this going to be coming to the board? Has it already been decided?
No. As I thought I mentioned just a moment ago, what it was is we are waiting for a finalization of the bids to do the interiors of the elevators. They in turn will go to the building committee for approval, and then assuming it is approved, it moves on to the finance committee for their approval, and if they approve, it moves on to the board for
All right,
final
but
approval.
the specifications were established. This has been done. So now we're just looking not at what to do, but how much it's going to cost.
Precisely.
Too bad.
Any other further comments? Anything further, Art? Thank you very much, both to you and John, for your reports.
Thank you.
The Covenants Committee. Phyllis Namro. Covenants meets 4 times a year, so we don't get to have Phyllis all the time.
Well, I don't have a lot, but the main item under discussion was the sighting of dogs in the amenities area. Dogs are not allowed in the PAC, the parlor, sunroom, dining areas, etc. And Carla did follow up and address this issue in her recent newsletter. In addition, smoking of any kind is only allowed in owners' condos, nowhere else on the Fox Hill grounds. That's it.
Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment about that. If my next door neighbor smoked in her condo, I would be concerned about the possibility of a fire. Okay? So I'm not in favor of people smoking in condos.
I would say that nevertheless, we do not have a no smoking policy. And that is something that would have to be reviewed carefully and would have to go through the approval
And the bylaws.
process and so on. So at the moment, smoking is allowed in condos. And of course, it's always a problem that a fire can occur, but we have to hope it won't. Karen?
I'm not a smoker, but I thought that we owned our condominiums and anything within our four walls is ours.
Unless it's illegal, Karen.
Smoking's
No illegal activity, please.
All right. I will not, I'll take my marijuana plants out.
Until July 1, yes, please.
Any other questions for Phyllis? Oops.
We do have sprinklers in our apartment, and I know they work.
Phyllis said that we do have sprinklers in relationship to fires, and she knows that they work.
We do not want any demonstrations of our sprinklers' ability to flood our places. Anything else, Phyllis?
That's as far as I know. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
June Ensign and the Decorating Ad Hoc Committee.
Well, as one who's not known for keeping her mouth shut when a subject comes up, let's go back to elevators.
Shoot.
We haven't been advised of anything that you're doing in the way of decorating, but a little background I'd like to give you is that the decorating committee spent a considerable amount of time deciding how we would jointly join with the amenities in doing the buildings. Would each building be a different color in the hallways? Or would each floor be a different color? And we did make a decision after much talking that all floors would be the same. And I would encourage you when you're selecting your elevator decorations to rather follow the same program. Maybe you'll invite us to join you.
You are certainly welcome to join us. I never considered the building committee to be a decorating committee.
Neither did I.
But that's why my concern was, do they work or not?
And also, June, I don't think we've heard a report of this decision.
No.
So it makes it difficult.
Of which decision? The one we had?
About the floors being the same and so on?
I'm just tying it into what the committee had made for doing their other decorating. They were trying to keep it all the same throughout the building for cohesion and attractiveness.
Well, the
And
building
yes,
committee feels that all the elevators should be the same, all should be hardened, and the ones for the amenities should be no different from the ones for the residential area.
I agree with you. We went before the finance committee meeting and requested more finances for this year. It's in an effort to take the designing and getting the furniture in place in 2 years rather than 3, which is a rather prolonged process of buying a few things each year. We were generously allowed the amount we requested, so we're in the process of working with our designers to finish up our purchasing list. I won't say that everything will be done by the end of this year, but it'll be very close. And Carla works as our liaison with the design group, and we'll be meeting soon to make certain we've gotten it all together. And we do really look forward to presenting an updated and attractive atmosphere for you all. Thank you.
Yes.
I just have a question about the selection of the lamps that have been made. I find many of them are overpowering on some of the credenzas on each floor. 6th floor of Abbott has a table near elevator 10 with 2 chairs. I don't think we'll be serving tea in that area. I think it's too much furniture. People walk by with walkers, wheelchairs to use the elevator to and from the garage. Can any of the residents give forth comments to the decorating committee? Because it's there after all.
You certainly can, but I'd just caution you right now is that many of the items will be moving when new furniture comes in. I mean, every floor is going to be impacted. Every lobby area will be impacted, and nothing is complete at this time. There's a large list of furniture that will be moved out that is there just to accommodate a need of somebody to sit down or something. Certainly, let us know if something's bothering you, and we'll see what list it's on. But
I just think some of those credenzas at the end of the hallways really do not need lamps, and they obstruct the painting on the wall. So, just my input. Thank you.
Well, that's fine.
Is there another hand back there? Any other questions? Thank you, June. In Marilyn's absence, I will deliver the financial report. Her report is that the Finance Committee reviewed the timeline for budgeting for fiscal year 2024. And she'd like to remind all the committees of the request to get your requests in for money by the 23rd, which happens to be a Sunday, and then for you to plan, if you're a chair, plan to be there at the Finance Committee meeting on the 31st of July to defend your request. That is a Monday. It was requested that the Finance Committee look closely at operations budgets overall, since we're consistently having higher revenues than expenditures. So I think we have taken that under advisement. They voted to recommend to the board to increase the budget for decorating, which June just announced, to purchase more furniture to help complete the large overall project for improving our residential halls. And they discussed investment strategies, and as I said in my report, decided more work is needed to come up with a recommendation for the board. They'll convene an interim meeting to try to achieve goals of being fiscally responsible and placing security of assets above all else, keeping the process simple and making sure that the board has the appropriate control over whatever they decide to do going forward. And now, Steve, do you usually do this? Well, she comes to the residential and the master budgets for April, so shall I just give her some report?
I can, well, either way, I can go ahead and read the numbers if you want me to.
All right, well, it's here. First, I'm operating, labor slightly higher than budgeted, and utilities, electricity, lower than expected. Maintenance spending slightly lower. Total revenue higher than expenses of $16,761 for the month. And the reserves, spending on carpeting, there was none except for the last amount to pay for the carpet, and that was a carryover from the 22 budget. And sales, which you'll hear about later, but continued to be better than expected with more sales than budgeted and expenses in line. And then we need to have, I make a motion. I'm going to mess this up, I'm sure. You have to be in this position for months before you learn how to do this. Move that the board accept the residential financials as shown, subject to audit.
So moved.
All in favor?
I have
Opposed?
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
How much money are we allotting to the decorating committee? If we're,
20,000.
They've allowed us 30,000 more.
okay, I approve. How can you approve if you don't know?
The master budget for April, operating report was that labor is somewhat below expectations, but vacancies are now filled. Maintenance and repairs are slightly lower than budgeted. Utilities considerably higher from electricity. And a big offset from settlement of bad debt. Revenues greater than expenses by $43,084 for the month. When we talk about a big offset from settlement, what are we talking about?
Money?
We had residents behind on their monthly fees, but the settlement came up and we were able to collect on the balance through the settlement process. So that's what we collected.
So how much did we realize?
All of the balance. So for example, we collected like $11,000 for one of the settlements. So what occurs is the residents, they're getting ready to sell their units. It moves on. Well, the residents vacate their units. That's one. Family members take up the process. They're trying to settle up on their estate process in the meantime. So what we do is we stay in touch with those family members and we tell them, look, we can collect it at settlement, the monthly fees that are
No,
due.
I understand all of that. I'm just wondering what the dollar amount was when she said it was higher than we expected.
Well, we were able to collect, we had accrued some bad debt of up to, I think, $5,000, and we were able to recognize a credit of about $11,000.
All right, so if our revenues were greater than expenses by 43,000, 11,000 of that was bad debt and so on.
Yes, yeah, for the month.
And the other is running ahead of
Yes,
budget. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And the reserves, spending of 220,000 for the last of the roof charges, as expected. And then it's time for, if there are no more questions, move that the board recommend to the master board approval of the financials as presented, subject to audit.
So moved.
Seconded.
I agree.
That is approved also.
And once we pay the $94,000 in the master for the claim, there will be no overage.
I do understand that, unfortunately. We took care of that easily, right? The next committee is the grounds committee, and Bob Giles could not be here for that. So I put on that hat. The new courtyard is now becoming a frequented spot for alfresco dining. Minor additional plantings have been approved. I don't know about everybody else, but I think the place is lovely and really nice and pleasing to spend time in, no matter what you're doing in there, having a meeting or eating or just chilling. The existing fountain area has been recently painted and maintenance is waiting upon replacement lighting and a fountainhead. The driveway entrance lighting will be installed this month. The main entrance beds will receive some minor updating. Clarifying the owner landscaping request process continues. That's kind of a thorny subject that we're all pondering how to handle. And thanks to our grounds sharp eyes, they are a new vigilant asset for Fox Hill grounds. And I must say their job is constant. I spoke to one of them this morning who was complaining about how fast things get fixed and then quickly somebody comes along and scuffs or messes it up and so on. So we all need to work hard on trying to keep everything nice so that we don't deteriorate. Any questions about the grounds report? And the next committee is IT, and neither George nor Don could be here today, so that's my other hat. The Fox Hill Information Technology Committee attendees met on June 9th at 11. Don Coleman, Adele Harrell, George Sadowski, and Joe Mormon attended the meeting. Joe presented the usage statistics reports for the month of May. The performance of the IT staff in meeting resident demands was very good. No surprise. Most of the demand came from event support, desktop support, Verizon issues, TV set issues, and house phone issues. Some difficulties dealing with Verizon continue. Total demand on the IT staff is absorbing 100% of their capacity. For the replacement in-house resident telephone system, all purchase orders for equipment have been sent, and equipment is being readied for the site survey and installation of the new equipment. A phased installation plan has been created to ensure that the eventual switchover should be without serious incident. Timing for the transition is still uncertain, but should occur mainly over the summer months. The system for residents to interrogate their club card balances has been delivered. We're asking for some modest extension of its functions. In addition, there may be some problems with accurate balances. This is being investigated. Under the new system, people sharing a unit have two separate accounts, and there are instances in which allocations of joint chargers have been made arbitrarily and unpredictably to one of the two accounts. We've asked for a rationalization of this situation. It is a good idea to look at your expenses and then your club card report so that you have some idea of whether it's functioning properly or whether you're being added to some other name. I know mine recently got confused with Goo and Goodman. And, so things happen. Social coaches from St. Albans postponed their May appearance due to a school conflict, but will visit Fox Hill twice in June instead. They continue to be very helpful and are appreciated by residents who have been helped by them. The IT committee has been approached by its counterpart group at Maplewood to share information. We believe that this would be mutually advantageous, and we will proceed with further contact and site visits. We're experimenting with various survey packages for use at Fox Hill. It would be helpful if we could do surveys, but it's hard to do a good survey, so they're trying different approaches. There are a number of questions that we would like to ask residents, and we believe that the same tools would also be useful for others. For example, we'd like to know how many of us benefit from the Tech Tuesday videos. We're testing 3 survey packages, and we plan to run some test surveys in the near future using the Gaggle subscribers as a test population. In the next few months, we'll assess our recommendations for the FY24 budget for both capital and operating expenses and submit our recommendation to the Finance Committee. Meeting was adjourned at 12 p.m. Questions about this? Without George and Don, I don't know how many questions we can answer, but we'll relay the questions to them. Then we'll move on to Esther's committee, Safety, Security, and Wellness.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay. The fence in the children dog run garden should be installed very shortly. We had a health seminar, Understanding Alzheimer's and Dementia, on May 23rd. We had about 55 residents attend, and many of them said they really enjoyed the program and would like the lady to come back again. Safety seminar. Alex presented the new revised fire plan and how to use fire extinguishers on 5/17. Again, we had about 50 residents. It seems that's the magic number. I hope we don't have anybody on Zoom, but I hope more people can attend. I think a lot of you in here do as I look at the faces. Safety again. Alex will meet with the security team to provide instructions on the AED. They will carry a first aid and an AED set on all emergency calls. Thank you, Carla. That's something that we needed, and I think that'll be great. The 14-mile-an-hour speed limit signs are now installed. I don't know if you've seen them. I've had a couple comments from people they're too small. We have a question over here, Joe, from Parker. Parker?
Yeah, I go out 3 or 4 times a day or a 24-hour period with my dog and my helper. And it's a question, when I get back, I have a little prayer session to thank God that I haven't been run down by a truck, a resident, a helper, and just a question, something's gonna happen. And I don't understand why we cannot put speed bumps in. That's the only thing that'll stop these people.
Well, it was tried, and it didn't pass through. We can always try again another time. But I think you told me that some of the people look like they're going 20 to 30 miles an hour.
And the speed limit is 25 to 30 miles an hour. It's not 19 miles an hour or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that's true. You know, I try to look at them, I yell at the people,
Yeah.
but something's got to be done with it. Have a terrible accident.
Okay, we'll talk to Alex too. He's not here, and see if we can come up with some suggestion. But I know it's a problem. And I was in favor of speed bumps, but many people weren't. So, as I said, right now we can't use them. But thank you.
I just would like to comment, I think the new speed limit signs, the first one is on the entry door, which I hate, which I think is very good. And I think the color with the yellow on. I think the coloration with the yellow is very good too. I think it's more prominent and I think it catches the eye better.
Okay.
What Phyllis just said is that she agrees that the color being yellow. I am now.
Repeat the comments. We didn't hear back here.
I was just saying that Phyllis said that she likes that they're a yellow and a different color, and she likes that there is one posted on the front gate.
Thank you.
Yes, Inga.
What worries me is that people go on the street instead of the sidewalk.
A lot of
And-
people walk on the street. I see that
Yes,
myself.
and that's quite dangerous if somebody comes by speeding.
Right. I guess it's smoother on the street, and that's why people with walkers, wheelchairs go on the street, yeah. But, you know, it is a retirement community, but, you know, people don't always think. But it was also reported to me that they saw some residents speeding. So, you know, we have to learn to take care of each other here. Well, we'll take it up again.
That's the only thing that'll stop the people from speeding.
Does anybody on the board have a comment to make, since it was the board that decided that we wouldn't have speed bumps?
Well, my comment is we did not say we couldn't have them. We said we would
didn't want
try
them.
these other interim measures and see if that would solve the problem. And we certainly can visit,
Look at it.
we can visit speed bumps again.
Okay.
We just didn't decide to do that first. June?
Many years ago, this was investigated, and we were told that the fire department and the emergency department would not allow us to put speed bumps in because the ambulances were double around too much. When they had people, and then they didn't have easy access to us. Whether that is a rule that's now still standing, I do not know.
You people in front talking that way, they can't hear you. Here's what she said.
What I said was, going back a number of years ago, this conversation came up, and we made an attempt to do it. And the fire department and the police, but mainly emergency ambulances, we were told we could not put the speed bumps in because the ambulances could not travel on a flat, even surface, and it was not good for anybody being picked up. And I understood at the time that there was a rule that we couldn't do it, but I never saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still in play or not, but
I don't think so. I don't think
that's
so.
the history.
It's not, and I think what was probably being requested in previous years was,
Those
dare I
big
say
ones.
it, a speed bump versus a hump. And what some of the things that I think the Safety and Security Committee has started to research are some modifications so that they wouldn't be large humps and so forth and so on. I think the idea behind that is very interesting, because if you travel up and down Burdette Road as you're going over to Bradley Boulevard, it's probably the worst road that you can travel on when you're going over speed bumps, and certainly the ambulances go over those. So I think something of a modification is probably in line, not as bad as the speed bumps on Burdette Road.
It was my understanding that some of the members of the safety committee had explored some of those questions with,
Yeah, we did. And John was very helpful, too, with giving us information. We can go back, I still have some of the information, and look at it and make another attempt to find something that isn't too high, but that works, because, yes, that is the only thing that's going to cut down on speed.
Linda Cuman.
Hi, so I'm concerned for people who are in
Can't hear
wheelchair.
you.
I'm concerned for people who are on wheelchairs or walkers by the children's garden where the Fox Hill vans and buses park. Sometimes they're pulled all the way onto the sidewalk, so no one can pass by there who's in any sort of vehicle, sidewalk vehicle. And then they're forced to go out around those buses and vans, which stick out a lot. And then they go out into the street even further than they would go by a parked car. So it would be so good if they wouldn't block the sidewalks, at least to leave enough room for people to get by.
Although a lot of people in wheelchairs and walkers do go on the street because it's a smoother surface. But yes, you have a good point. Thank you.
I think when they first put the spots in there, it was not anticipated that we would have like a 24-passenger bus. And so to me, those spots are actually not large enough for the cars, for the buses. And so let me talk with Alex and see if there's some other spaces around the property where we can park those vehicles, because that side actually gets a lot of action. So if we, first of all, if sometimes we park along the fire lane, or we park on the side, and then there are residents that don't want to see the bus when they look out their window, which I can appreciate. It's also in a fire lane, so it shouldn't be there. And it is very difficult because they do stick out further, and then it makes it difficult for the big delivery trucks that come and the trash people that come, and then trying to get two cars past there. So it's probably not the ideal location any longer for us to park those buses there.
Thank you.
That's my take on it.
Okay. Thank you for the questions. On 6/20, which is next Tuesday or Wednesday at 1 o'clock, Alex will be doing a presentation on our new disaster plan, which is different from the fire plan, and the Heimlich procedure. So I hope you can come to that meeting. We will have a presentation by the Maryland EMT on June 28th in the PAC on how to use the MOLST form. That's the Maryland Medical Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment and other safety tips. So I hope a lot of people can come to that too. We will recess seminars for July and August. And Nicole is preparing for a resource fair to invite providers to Fox Hill for a discussion and a display in September. The committee will not meet in July, and I mentioned we will not have any seminars July and August, and that's my report.
Are there questions? Thank you very much, Esther.
And Linda, maybe you'd like to give a report on.
Well, I'm about to call on her.
Okay. If you come under mine, as I thought I forgot.
The Green Team Subcommittee, Linda Cuman.
Carla and Kosi have let us know that they are now working on a plan to orient personal care aids. And recycling will be included in that orientation. We are very pleased to hear this news. The Green Team is pleased to offer our help in supporting them with materials relating to recycling and what other support we can provide. The trash room project is now completed. It only took us 2.5 years to figure out. Thanks to Juan and maintenance for repositioning and putting up the additional signs in our 17 trash rooms. It's quite a project. Going outside Fox Hill, Maryland just passed a bill that creates a board to look at extended producer responsibility for plastics. This was a concept first piloted in the European Union. EPR legislation looks to shift the burden of recycling from governments and citizens to the producers of packaging. Yay. A few other states have passed laws that actually call for EPR. The Green Team is very happy to hear this, and we would look forward to seeing what happens. Your recycling hints for today. Used coffee cups and paper soup cups can be recycled. Rinse them out, wipe off any grease from the soup cans, and toss into your floor's paper recycling bin. Montgomery accepts these even if coloring remains. They call this a stain, not food waste. Any questions? Okay.
When we rinse out plastic soap containers, for the washing machine, or any plastics that have had some kind of syrup in them, how absolutely thorough do we have to be? Because the snouts are narrow, you can't put your hands in to find out if you've got all the goo out.
You don't have to be perfect. You just rinse it out to your satisfaction. You can put it on the counter, let it dry out as much as you're willing to do, and then put the cap back on and throw it in recycling.
Okay, but
The
thank you.
caps are not recyclable unless you put it on the container. They need to be, it's because they don't want small caps. Okay. Oh,
Just a quick announcement that the buying detergent in the sheets is wonderful. It works just as well as liquid, and that is not a recyclable problem when you use those.
that's great. And a lot of them, they should be biodegradable too. So that's great if it works for you in your wash. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Linda. That brings us Barbara Myers. Sales.
Sales continue very strong. 16 were sold in the first 6 months, and 10 were budgeted. In the month of May, there were 4 units sold. 3 of those were large units, 16 to 1,700 square foot. And the transfer fees for May were $233,071. In June, there's been just one settlement for condominium 450A. It is a 1,400 square foot condo, and the selling price was $998,000. This was sold by an outside agent, and this amount was considerably less, $50,000 to $60,000 less than probably would have been obtained if they had used solutions. Interesting. We have only one unit available. That unit is 608E. The price has been lowered from $479,000 to $450,000, but there is not much interest in one-bedroom condos. We do have two-bedroom with balcony condos where families have notified us that Solutions will be able to list them in between 45 to 60 days. So the total transfer fees for 2023 to date are $675,511.88, Brent. The expenses, budgeted expenses for maintaining our Solutions operation through June are $352,132, leaving us a balance of $323,379 for this year. Steve told me this morning that he received a bill for $100,000 in taxes. So we would have contributed to the marketing fund $223,379 for this year. And in the marketing fund at present, from the beginning, is $958,000, which is at the bank in safe deposits, right? That's it. We had a very successful open house yesterday. Over 50 people attended. People were terribly interested. They were asking very pertinent questions, and we really had a very good time. We could only show them one condo, a one-bedroom, but many people have made appointments to come back and have asked to be notified if larger apartments become available. So,
Questions for Barbara? Thank you very much. Brings us to the report of the general manager, Carla Shipley.
Thank you. There are no projects discussed at the last board meeting that are still open. We have had a total of 20 owner and 6 staff COVID cases since January 1. Items from the suggestion box. Please place tables on the front porch as in previous years. My response is that we did have tables on the front porch during the pandemic. The tables were placed on the porch to offer ways for people to dine with families and each other in an open air during COVID. Those tables are no longer there since we are now open for everyone to dine in our community. We have added the bistro tables in the courtyard area, and I understand people are using them for alfresco dining. I would like rice pudding with raisins and cook the rice well. I will share that suggestion with Chef. I ordered an extinguisher and never got it. I was charged for it. The owner has since received this fire extinguisher. There have been the following changes in staff. We have parted ways with one housekeeper, and we have hired 2 servers and a maintenance assistant. Notable communications continue through my weekly letters. Financial report has been given by Brent today, and the delinquent accounts have been reviewed at the Finance Committee and today as well. The Master Board meeting will be held on June the 26th at 11 a.m. They are currently redesigning the Fox Hill sign, as Brent has mentioned in the past, and should have an example to share with us soon. There have been no proposals for the master during this month. Preventative maintenance has been completed as outlined by our contracts. The landscaper has been continuing to perform their weekly service. The grease traps were serviced, the water treatment was completed, and Dankin is performing the filter changes as discussed earlier. Conade has begun their preventative maintenance program and their inspections. Inspections of the property continue by maintenance, checking water pressure, pool temperature, boiler function, trash pickup, small pruning of trees, and generalized repairs and maintenance. Don Cohn, our regional facilities director for Sunrise, conducted an inspection of Fox Hill on May the 23rd. The community received an excellent report. There were some minor issues noted in the report. Most of, if not all, have already been corrected. There is nothing new to report on Rivera having control of the Sunrise Board. Operations are not expected to change. I'm meeting with the Sunrise capital expense managers to discuss the next steps on the kitchen table renovation project, the installation of sound absorbing tiles for the river room, and the installation of the hearing loop in the PAC. Once those plans are finalized and the work is scheduled to begin, I will share the updates with the community. Problem areas and recommendations. We have no problems at Fox Hill, and I have no recommendations. That concludes my report.
That is cute.
Yes, we have a question? Sidell?
Yes, Carla. Before I ask my question, I do want to compliment our dining people, the cooks and the servers, because most of the time the food is very, very good. Most of the time. Okay. Then I want to ask. Oh, really? I'll speak to you later. Okay. What is a little dismaying is on occasion there is a very, very long wait because it seems that we don't have enough servers. Is there a problem in getting servers?
It's finding the right servers for us. It certainly takes, you can't just take somebody kind of off the street, right? We have to do a lot of due diligence. I actually think, could we always use more servers? Absolutely. Are we always hiring for servers? Absolutely. I actually think that there is some delays in the processing right now, and so I'll be diving into that a little bit more with Chip this month because I'm not sure that it's related to servers. When I watch, I see servers standing around. I'm just wondering, why is there a delay in the kitchen? And that's where I think our issue is lying. We do have a lot of new cooks, that's for sure. But is there a process that we're not following to be able to turn out the food that we need to turn out in a fast enough time. So my sense is it's not servers. My sense it's actually coming from the back of the house.
A question? Carla, many people, including generally my wife and I, show up at 6. We've made a reservation. And I wonder, you can't hear? Well, I don't know what to do. Oh, so, all right. I wonder if it would make sense to try staggering arrival times a little bit. So, I mean, I could come at 6:15 without being bent out of shape, if that would assist the speed of serving.
Thank you for that, John, and I appreciate your flexibility. I would tell you that not everybody is feeling that same way. One of the reasons why we did the staggering of the to-go and kind of taking it out of that magic window from about 6 to 7:30 is to try to give more of an opportunity for people that are dining and have better service. I think that's helped some, but I definitely believe it would make it easier if we could go to a reservation system, but I think that really puts a big burden on our owners, and it's something that we need to work through in our process.
Well, I would note that everybody I know makes a reservation.
I think, in my humble opinion, the problem, which is, it's going to be difficult to correct, is that the kitchen, the ovens and whatnot and the grill is inadequate. It's just too small.
That's for sure in the grill.
Yeah.
And again, the grill was never intended to be able to manage a menu that we're serving. I'm really proud that we can offer such offerings in the grill, so much expanded. Originally, for some of you that know, there was just a pizza oven in that grill at one point. And so the idea was that it would be some light fare, sandwiches, maybe some pizzas, soup. And we've been able to expand that menu and do a workaround and being able to offer so many other things. So we just have to keep working on it.
Well, I'm really impressed with the fact that there's very little turnover in terms of servers. And I have good friends over at Maplewood, and another one, I forget that, the military one in Virginia.
Ingleside or Knollwood? Knollwood?
Nope. No, anyway, where they've lost a lot of servers. And Maplewood, by the way, has over 20 vacancies. That's right on Old Georgetown yeah.
Vacancies, do you mean in condos or do you mean in staff?
No, I'm sorry, in units sold, empty units, and they also lost staff quite a bit during the pandemic, and they weren't used to that. So hats off to A, the quality of our servers, and B, the fact that you've kept them, the good ones, for a long, long time. No, it's
Thank
very
you.
good.
It's always a work in progress, that's for sure.
Phyllis?
Was it at one time thought that in the kitchen there would be a partition which would help cut down some of the noise that goes on, the clattering of dishes? It's really impossible to eat in there at times.
So in the kitchen table, the open concept was the original concept for the community. We actually had an engineer and architect come in and take a look at if we could enclose it somehow. And it actually became a fire hazard. So we actually we need to have a means of egress from the kitchen. So if we kind of enclosed one area, then it would mean that people would have to walk all the way around to the back, and the space, if you've ever been in our kitchen, there's no space. Every inch is used. So the fire marshal wouldn't allow us to change the configuration. could we add, and because of the way that the sprinkler and the hood system is, it's designed to be kind of out in the open. Could we make it a little bit higher? Could we do something more with those partitions? We can. And when we start to get plans for the kitchen table, which I haven't seen any, then we can start looking at those kinds of things.
Will we be able to use the tavern? That would make it quieter for the diners.
So the idea that I'm hoping we'll see is that we will actually take the wall down that separates the tavern and the kitchen table. And there will be a column, like a glass column, that will be in the middle. And then there will be recessed doors on each side so that we can use it freely. Or if you wanted to have a private party in the tavern, you could still close it off if you wanted to. But expanding that space, which if nobody's been in the tavern, it also goes way up and creates such an echo. So we would carpet that area and then do some soundproofing inside of that open space up there. So there are lots of plans to come, and as soon as I get them, I will certainly start sharing them.
One more thing, you were going to put the sound loops in here.
Mm-hmm.
Is the carpet going to be changed?
Yes.
Because when we take our exercise classes and we have our balance session, it's very good to be able to look across the room and follow that line. So I don't know what kind of carpet they're going to put in, but as far as exercise class, this works.
So it'll be similar to the carpet that's already around the community. So it'll be more of a sunburst. And the dance floor will actually be taken up. And this will all be carpeted. And then we'll have a movable dance floor that we can actually put anywhere in the room or any place else. So the flooring in here creates quite an echo too, so it doesn't absorb the sound. It makes it more difficult for people that have hearing needs. So lots of great things coming.
Further questions? Thank you very much, Carla.
Thank you.
Then under new business, in the lovely month of June, when we're all enjoying the beauty of our surroundings and thinking of trips to beach houses to spend time with family and friends, or vacation itineraries, long delayed and finally feasible, or just chilling out here at Fox Hill with fewer demands on our time, it's not really time to think about the busy fall we have each year. But some like advance notice of major events so that they can schedule around them. Therefore, I offer a quick rundown of what's to come. September 22nd, we'll see the call for candidates to run for the board. The election for the board will happen on November 13th. The employee holiday gift-giving party will be on December 13th, and the Fox Hill evening holiday party will be on December 15th. There'll be full details and many announcements of these important events as time goes by. Go back to your novel for a couple of months.
Brent, may I just add that I will be on vacation at the next board meeting, so I will be joining everybody via Zoom for the July meeting.
I'll get to read one more report.
I'll be there.
Or you're going to do it on Zoom?
I will do it on Zoom.
If
Okay.
it works.
All right.
I'll try not to have mimosas that morning.
I think that brings us to adjournment. Have any other business to conduct? The meeting is adjourned.